This morning, I would like to read you a story about growing up. It's called Miss Rumphius, published in 1982. I think it will be familiar to some of you. The Lupin lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupin lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know. She is my great aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice, who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Now he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows of ships, for Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures too, and when he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places, and when I grow old, I too will live by the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework, and pretty soon she was grown up. Then my great aunt Alice set out to do the three things she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up, and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places. People called her Miss Rumphius now. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. "This is almost like a tropical isle," said Miss Rumphius. But not quite. So she journeyed to tropical isles and walked on long sand beaches. My great aunt Miss Alice Rumphius climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the Mediterranean, and there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "What a foolish thing to do," said Miss Rumphius. "Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it is time to find my place by the sea." And it was, and she did. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there is still one more thing I have to do," she said. "I have to do something to make the world more beautiful." "But what? The world is already pretty nice," she thought, looking out over the ocean. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. Lupins, said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. I have always loved lupins the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer, so that I could have still more flowers next year. But she was not able to. After a hard winter, spring came. Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take walks again. One afternoon she started to go up and over the hill, where she had not been for a long time. I don't believe my eyes, she cried when she got to the top, for there on the other side of the hill was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupins. It was the wind, she said as she knelt in delight. The wind must have brought the seeds from my garden here. Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalog and sent off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupin seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over fields and headlands, sowing lupins. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and back of the church. She tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her any more at all. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. The next spring there were lupins everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and back of the church. Down in the hollows and along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the third, the most difficult thing of all. My great-aunt Alice, Miss Rumphius, is now very old. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more and more lupins. Now they call her the Lupin Lady. Sometimes my friends come with me to hear her stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea. That is all very well, little Alice, says my aunt, but there is a third thing you must do. What is that? I ask. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. But I do not know yet what that can be. It feels to me like this year the whole world hurt its back getting off a camel. And then had to go home and be laid up all spring looking out the window at the world. And now we're just starting to go for our first walk over the hill, where we haven't been for a long time. And we're getting this chance to see the world with new eyes. We have this chance to choose how to re-engage. Listen, a sower went out to sow some seed and threw seed everywhere. When you read Matthew, you get both the parable and you get the explanation for the parable, and we got both woven together today in that telling from Anne. Thank you. And when you get those together, you get both the original parable and then Jesus, and then Matthew, perhaps the author Matthew for his community, his explanation. Just the parable itself has this focus that I'm interested in today about the sower, not just the ground where the seed fell, but the sower. Listen, a sower went out to sow some seed and threw seed everywhere. I have farmed before. I did not throw seed on the stony path. And I did not throw seed in the thorn bushes. I was very particular about putting seeds just where the good soil was, because I knew just how many seeds I had. And also, as a side note, you don't have to throw it all. Whatever you don't throw, you get to eat. I don't think that would have been lost on Jesus's agrarian community. So the sower here is up to something else. The sower seems to have more seed than they need, a superabundance of seed. I almost get the feeling that this sower might be back the next day throwing seed in the exact same spots all over again. Almost like, oh, I wonder if there might be a patch of good soil up there I missed yesterday. I'm just going to go for it again. Miss Rumphius's final stage of maturity feels to me like what the sower is up to. No more straightening and ordering of books. No more climbing the tallest mountain she can find. But 5 bushels. 5 bushels of lupin seeds scattered in fields and down lanes and around the schoolhouse and back of the church and in stone walls. In fact, the real lupin lady, whose life, along with the life of the author, is merged to create Miss Rumphius, the real lupin lady was named Hilda Hamlin. And she really did just the same thing with her lupin seeds. She would go out in the autumn and she would collect the seed pods and then get the seeds and fill her pockets and secretly, quietly, for years, just fling them about everywhere she went. And if she happened to have a ride with someone who had a car, she would actually throw them out her window as she went along the highway. Hilda Hamlin or Alice Rumphius, their spirit was superabundance, and so was their harvest. Any of you who've been to Sugar Hill, New Hampshire, or to Mid-Coast, Maine, or to any of the other lupin lands around here have seen that their beauty just runs wild in the most unexpected places. As I get back out into the world today, I would like to see with the mature Miss Rumphius's eyes. In our scripture, I would like to connect today with the sower. The parable says, among other things, go ahead. Go ahead once you've seen what is beautiful in God's world, what has real lasting meaning, and scatter it everywhere. There is plenty of God's goodness to go around, a superabundance. So I'm going to invite you, if you would be bold, to share what you're noticing over the hill as you go out again into the world, and what you might be preparing to do in the world these days. If you would share in just 1 minute, and I'll let you know if you're going into a second minute. So I'll ask some questions and then hold some silence. And if you would just share into that silence. What beauty have you seen out the window while you have been laid up that you would like to see more of in the world? What are the places that you wouldn't usually think of sowing your gifts in the world because they're too rocky or too thorny? But if you suddenly saw your gifts as super abundant from God, that you might go and try giving your gifts in that place. Or perhaps simply name for yourself what part of Miss Rumphius's journey you connect with today. The moment of jumping off the camel, or the sick year at home, the sudden idea, the mailing away for the bags of hope and of wonder, or even that part where she's telling stories at home to the next fledgling generation.